Okay, students, as we have started with the concept of strings in last lecture, so in today's session, we will discuss one of the topic related to the string parts, that is the string buffer. Okay, so what basically a string buffer is, that is a pair class of a string. So we can define it like that is a pair class of a string. Okay, that help us to modify all those data, all those values that we are that is like we can define this particular string buffer. If you remember, in the case of the strings, we say that that string is a immutable part. Okay, but there could be some situation where we want to just modify all those content of that particular string. For that particular case, we have developed this particular concept of a string buffer. So string buffer is basically a pair class that provides us as the same functionality as the strings have, but with one important feature, that it help us to just write have that growable and writable characters in that particular string. Okay, so in the case of a string, how we can define a term string? If we talk about a single string only, so we represent that particular string as a fixed length. Okay, so we represent it as a fixed length. Okay, and also that is an immutable character sequence. Immutable character sequence. So this is how we represent a particular string here. That is of fixed length and it is an immutable character sequence. Whereas if we consider about the string buffer part, so how we can define a string buffer class? That is a growable, that allows you to grow itself. That is a growable length is there, and we can provide all the writable character sequences. Writable character sequencing. Fine. So we can say that it could be writable, or we can say that we can provide all those mutations over there. Okay. So we can just change all those data in the case of a string buffer. So here, how we can distinguish between string and string buffer? So if you just see that string consists of a fixed length, and and it is also immutable by nature. So we cannot change the content of that particular string. Okay, but if we talk about string buffer, that is a growable part, and it is we have a writable character format here, or a writable character sequence is there, or we can say that we can modify all those characters in a particular string. Similarly, string buffer also provides us with some particular constructors that we can use it in order to just invoke that particular, like whatever the values that we are giving, or whatever the object that we are need to invoke at the time of the execution part. So there are some of the string buffer constructors are there. So like we can refer that string buffer constructors. Okay, so the very first one is the string buffer. So this is one of the constructor that will reserve. So it will just reserve 16 characters for each particular string. Okay, so it will just reserve a room of a 16 characters. Okay, so 16 characters without reallocation. Without reallocation. So what we mean by reallocation, that we don't need to just allocate all those characters again and again. So we can give a fixed we can say that a default that is a value of 16 character, so that it can reserve for a particular string in it. Okay, secondly, that we need to define, that is a string buffer int size. Okay, so in this form of the constructor, what will happen? That it will just accept the argument which is of integer type. Okay, so that will explicitly set the size of that particular buffer. So why we require this particular size? just to explicitly accept the particular size for which we want to just allocate that particular, or we want to reserve that particular memory location for that particular string over there. Okay, so it will just explicitly sets the size of the buffer, sets the size of buffer explicitly. Okay, by default, how much memory that we are reserving that character, that is 16. And if we want to just allocate all those memory according to the choice of the user, then we can use this in size. Okay, so the third one is the string buffer. So just remember all these terms, because while implementing all those programs, you will able to understand that why we are using which particular constructor at which time. Okay, so here we are using string buffer and string here, and the what type of arguments that we are passing, that is of string type arguments we are passing. And what is the purpose of this particular string type? That it accepts the string arguments that sets the initial content of the string buffer object. It will just initially just sets the initial content of that particular string buffer object. Okay, so it will also reserves room for the same. So it will also reserves room of 16 characters. Okay, room for 16 character without reallocation. Without reallocation. Okay, so how we can write like this? Like, let's suppose we are using this string buffer here. So we can write like this: string buffer s equal to new string buffer. So what type of a constructor we are using here? This is of the first type. This type of a constructor is being represented by this particular constructor. So here what is happening, that we are reserving that 16 character here memory for that particular string by writing like this: string buffer s is the object of that particular string buffer equal to new string buffer. Okay, in case if we want to give our own memory part, so we can write like this: string buffer s equal to new string buffer, and we can pass the size in the form of an integer value like this. Like I have written 20, so by 16, by default 16 will be reserved for it, and we can also give 4 extra that is memory location to this particular string over. Okay, and the third thing is that the third constructor that we are using, that is string buffer, where we are passing, we can directly pass that string argument here. But what will happen, but it will just allocate that default size of 16 characters for that particular string only. Okay, but we can pass the string argument here. So how we can write like this: string buffer s equal to new string buffer, and that is ACP. Okay, so we are writing like this: ACU. See, so we have passed that particular value over here, that is like ACP. Fine. So this is how we can use all this constructor in order to use this particular string buffers here. Okay, so here we are just passing, this is the third method that we are showing here, and this was the second method in the third constructor. What we are defining, we are just passing directly the string argument here, and we haven't defined any of the size for that particular memory location, but by default it will take the 16 character memory allocation without the reallocation. Okay, so this is how we can define this particular string buffer here. Similarly, we also, these are the string constructor that we have discussed so far. Similarly, we have some methods of string buffer also. So we can just have a look on all these methods, and later on we can practice some exercise on the same. Okay. So I just give you a brief view of all these methods. So like there are some string buffer methods are there. So first one is the length, that will tell us the length of a string buffer, and then is the total capacity. So first method is the length is there, capacity is there, that will tell you that what is the total allocated capacity that we can find with the help of this capacity method. And before that we are also having the length. Okay. So next is the append is there. There is another method known as append that is used to add the text at the end of the existing text. Add text at end. Add text in the end. Okay. Similarly, we have that insert part. Insert part is there. So if we want to insert some particular text in the specified index position, at that time we can use this particular insert method here. Okay, so this is also one of the particular this method of string buffer that we can use, and we are also having that reverse here. Okay, so that will just reverse your string if we use this particular method. Similarly, so many other methods are available, like delete is there. Okay, replace is there. So these are some of the inbuilt methods that we can use. Okay, and we have a particular function of that is character character add, that will tell us character add, that will gives us just return the specified character at a particular location. Okay, so that we can use with the help of a character char. Okay, so we will be performing one or one or more than one program. So where we can use this particular this methods. So here that is character caret. We need to define the index also, from where we need to find that particular character. So this is a simple methods, etc. There are so many others methods also that we can use just in order to define this various string buffer methods. Now there is a difference between a string and a string buffer, as I told you earlier also, that if you want to provide any type of a change in your current string, so at that time you can use that string buffer. So we can just define upon that how we can use this particular string and string buffer. So if we want a constant string throughout the program, at that time we can use only string. We can use only the concept of a string there. And if we want to provide some changes in that, so at that time we can use the string buffer concept. Clear? So let's start with the program portion. So I'm going to switch to my this screen part. So I'm going to share my screen with you. So first of all, I just write down one simple program that how we can use this string buffer bar. Okay. So I just share my screen with you. Okay, so this is my notepad screen. So just simply tell you that how we can use the string buffer. So simply I am writing like this: class buffer 1, and under this we can write like this: public static void main. Okay, here we need to pass all those arguments, that is string arguments. Okay, so this is the string arguments we need to pass. Clear? Next is that we need to define that string buffer class. So we are writing like this: string buffer. So here we will create the object for the same, that is b equal to and new string buffer And here we are passing that string argument here. So what type of a constructor that we have used, that is a third type. Okay, so we are writing like this, hello, like this. Okay, and here you can see that we can simply, I am appending this particular string, above string. So I'm writing like this, buffer dot append, and here we can use that Java file. Okay, so simply, so that is S. Here we are just printing that particular part. So we are writing like this, system dot out dot println, and here we can pass that particular value, that is B. Okay, we are just writing like this, B. Okay, so let's execute this particular part. So here you can see that I have created one string here using that string buffer, and in this particular string buffer part, what we have done, we have passed that particular string here, and in the second instruction we have just need to append that particular string part. Okay, so let's see what type of a output we are getting. So we can save like this. So that is buffer. Okay, already I think there is another class available with this particular name only. So I just change it to buffer2, and now I will save this part. So we can write like this, buffer2 dot run. Right? Now let's run this program. Okay, so I'm going to share my that command prompt screen with you. So here you can see. So we are writing like this, Java C buffer 2 dot Java. Okay. Again, we are having that. So here, I just run this. So you can see that we are having this output as a hello Java. So this is how we have appended that particular string that we have already passed with the help of that string buffer constructor. Yeah. So this was all about that, what we need to just have a brief introduction about that string buffer. So in the coming session, we will be discussing one exercise based on the string buffer also. Okay, so now I am going to start another topic with you. That is the topic that we will discuss here is regarding the classes and object. Okay, so we will start with a new topic that is known as a classes and object. So okay, in this particular case, we will discuss that as we have started with the classes and object topic. So this is the different ways that how we can define our main method. So the first thing is that we can define that particular main method within the class only. So in that case, you can see that I have created one class here with the name S. Now I am going to define the different fields in it, like int ID I am having, and next I can use that string name could be there. Okay, so these are the two fields that I am going to have. Next is here in this particular part, I am going to write that main method. So inside this particular class S, so I'm writing like this: public static void main, and I will pass all those string arguments here. Fine. So here what I can do, like I will just create the object for that particular class. So I am writing like this: S is my class name, and here I will create the object, that is S1. And here, with the help of a new operator, I am going to allocate some memory for this particular object. So I am writing like this. Fine. Now I will just print the values of all those this particular this members. So we are having like this: system dot out dot println s1 dot id. So this is the, with the help of a dot operator, how we can assess all those member through this particular reference variable that we have given. And again we are having that system dot out dot println. Okay, so here I can write like this: s1 dot name. So this is the way that how we can just like I can say that how we can just say use that main within the class. So I just save this particular bar, s dot java. Okay, so we can just I'm just going to execute this particular portion. Okay, something is missing here, that is control. Okay, so I'm just saving this again. So I just run this code here. Okay, so as you know, okay, I'm going to share my that screen with you. So you can see my output on this command prompt. So here you can see that I haven't passed any of that values here. So by default it is giving me the values. So by default the integer id will be having 0 value, and for that string part I am having the null portion. This is up to your wish. If you want to pass some value, you can just assign that particular value, or and if you want to take it from the user, you can use that particular scanner class also. Okay. Next is the case where we can define that. Okay, I just fully share my screen so that it will be visible for you all also. So here again I am sharing my notepad view. So next case is that where we want to use the main outside the class. Main outside the class. Okay, so this is also one of the method that we can say that how we can use that particular main method here. So here what will happen, I am taking the same example. So this is class s int id string name, and here I just close my this particular class. Fine. And here I will this is one of the class that I am using, and here I can define class. Again I will be using another class. Let's suppose I am writing like this: main 1. Okay, this is my class name. So under this I have used this public static void main like this. Okay, so same thing I have defined in the another class. Okay, so that is a public static. This is how I can use my main method outside a given class also. So this is my given class, and this is again I require a particular class, because this public static void main must be the part of the should be the part of a particular class only. Why so? Because as we have already discussed that JVM takes that class file as an input file, so it is being represented with this particular class keyword only. So again, let's suppose I want to save it as a name, save as main1 dot java, so that you know that main1 dot java here. Fine. So again, I just replace if anything is available here. So again, I'm going to share my command screen with you. So here you can see I can write like this Java. I'm going to compile this particular program main one dot Java. So this is the case. You can see that after running this program, again the value will remain. So I haven't passed any of the values. So answer will be the default values that I can show, that is 0 and the null portion. Clear? So this was about that how we can represent a main function, this main method. So you can just remember all these things if you feel like if we want to use this concept of classes and object, and if we are using this main method over there. Fine. So this is the case. Now the next thing that we need to represent here is that. So this was all about that classes and object that we were working upon. Now the next thing is that how we can initialize an object. So if you remember, I just tell you. Okay, I'm going to again share my screen with you. Okay, you can see that what is the again I just share with you the different ways to initialize an object. So there are, we can represent, there are three ways by which we can initialize an object. We can initialize an object. So we will discuss one by one each of the method with the help of a program. So the very first method is that, so I am just writing like this. First method is using the concept of reference variable. Okay, so that is the first method that we will discuss here, that is with the help of a reference variable. Okay, so what is it? That is initialization through the reference. So initializing an object means that we are storing some data in the object. Okay, so what we are doing here, that by using this particular concept, we are storing some value or a data into the object. Now let's suppose I am again using this class S2, and here I am again using two variables, that is int id, and another one is the string name. Right? So these are the two things that we are using. Here we are having class test2. Now let's suppose I am taking this type of example. So I just give it a name, class reference variable. Okay, so this it will help you out in understanding the concept. So let's suppose I have used this particular class name, class reference variable, because we are initializing this particular object with the help of a reference variable. So we are writing like this, public static void main, and here we are passing that value string arguments like this. And so just to represent this particular form, we are using the string arguments. And here what I will do, I will use this particular class S2, and I will create one object for the same. It is S equal to new S2. Okay. So this is the way that how I have created the object of this particular class S2. This is my class. This is a template that contains two fields over here. One is the ID and another one is the name part. Okay. So I have created one of the object for this particular class S2. Now what I want, that I want to use a particular reference variable. Okay. So that reference variable, what it will do, it will directly store that particular value to the object. Okay. So how it is possible? I will be using, now what is my object name? That is this one. So I will refer S dot ID equal to, let's suppose I have given the ID 10. Okay. So S dot name equal to, so let's suppose I have given A, G, C. Okay. Let's suppose this is the name I have given here. Okay. So simply I am writing like this: system dot out dot println, and I will just declare that particular values like S1 dot ID, sorry, S dot ID, and by giving the proper space over here, so I can write S dot name. Okay, so here I will close my brackets. So I just save this program by with the name Control S. So what simply I have done, that I have created this object over here with the help of this particular object. I have created one of the reference variable, and that reference variable will be just assigning that particular values here. So we are giving that name reference variable dot Java. So this is the name I have given. Now I am going to share my screen with you. Okay, so now I am just giving you that particular output. So I am just going to share my screen with you. Okay, so here you can write like this: Java C, and we can, what was the name? That is reference variable variable dot Java. So again, I just run this program. So you can see the output. This is the ID and this is the string. So this is the first method by which we can initialize an object. Okay, so we have initialized that particular object by using the reference variable over here. So with the help of this particular object, we have just referred by using the dot operator, and we have assigned that particular values. Okay, so second method that we are going to discuss here is that, so again, I am going to share my notepad with you. So in this particular part, now the second thing that we will discuss here is that we will simply, the second method that we will discuss here is that we can initialize object. We can initialize objects in Java using a method. Okay, so using a method. Now this is quite interesting one, that how we can initialize a particular object with the help of a method. So what we do, that we will create some objects for this particular class, and we can just initialize the value of this object by invoking that particular methods over there. Okay, so we can start like this. Again, we can have class S, and again we will refer the, let's suppose I am referring roll number, and the second one is the string name. Okay, so again we can define a particular method, that is void, let's suppose insert value. This is the value that we can go for, and we can pass that arguments here int, that is r comma string n. So these are the two parameters that we have taken here. So one is of integer type that we require for the roll number part, and another one is the string type that we require for the name part. So we are just assigning both the values here. So we are writing like this, that is roll number equal to r. So we have assigned that particular value in the parameter r to this roll number, and again we have assigned that n value to the name part. So why we have used it, because when we call this particular method over here, so whatever the value we will pass, it will be assigned to that particular this variables here. So we have a void display. This is another method that we are having, and we will simply print the values here like this: system dot out dot println. So again I just correct this statement, system dot out dot println, and here we can just display all those values like roll number and person name, and here I will just close this particular another method, that is the display method. Now what I will do here, that I am going to again close this particular class, and now I will use that main method. So I am just writing the name of this class as a method. So we are like object by method. Let's suppose I have given this name object by method. So here again what I will do, I will use this public static void main, and I will pass that string arguments. Okay, so this is the public static void main, string arguments is there, that is we are passing, and here we will you call that particular method with the help of the object. So this is my object name, object by method. This is my class name, and here I am using the object, let's suppose S1. This is my first object, equal to new object by method. This is by my class name. So I just copied it from this line here. Again, I can create another object, that is S2. Okay, so now with the help of this object S1 and S2, I just call that particular method S1 dot, that is insert value. Okay, so here let's suppose I'm going to insert my values, like I am writing like 1 comma CSE here. So let's suppose this is the name and the ID that I am giving, and again I just copy this part. So I will be writing like this S2 dot insert value, and here I just change the values here like 2, and I can write like this ID. Okay, so let's suppose these are the two values that I have given. Now again, I will call the another method. So I am writing like s1 dot display. So that is the second method that we have defined. So this is display. Okay. So this is the display part. And similarly, we are having s2 dot display. Right? So this is the case you can see. Okay, so in this method, what we have done, we have initialized that object by using the methods. Okay, so what we have done, we have created two methods over here. One is insert value, another one is the display part. So we have simply created two objects over there, and with the help of this object, we have called that above methods here one by one. So let's run this program. So we can write like this: Control S, and what is the name? That is object by method dot java. So I have saved this program. Now again I am going to share my screen with you. Okay, there are some queries regarding this particular part, so we can discuss it afterwards. So meanwhile, you just we just see the output for the same. So I am going to share my command prompt with you. So let's see what output we will be having. So I can write like this: Java C. What was the name? Object by method. Obj by method. Okay, Java C object by method dot Java. Some errors are there. Oh. So I have to write S here. So that is so by mistake I have written this part. So this is okay. So let's again run this part. So students, I am just again share my screen with you that by mistake I have written the main class here. Like I will share my that notepad first with you. Okay. So here you can see that I have changed this particular part. SS1 is there. So by mistake I have written object by method. Fine. So again I will share my this command prompt with you. So here you can see again I will run my this. Okay, so insert value, some spelling mistakes are there. So in a hurry I have just missed that T alphabet here. So again I just again a spelling mistake. So again I run this, I just compile this part. Now it's fine. Okay, so I'm just going to run this part. Okay, you can see the output here. Okay, one is the CSC and the second one is the IT part. Fine. So this is about that how this is the second method that we have discussed, that if we want to initialize the object using a method. Now the third method is that what we have done here. Okay, what is happening through this initialization part, that we can see that objects get some particular memory in the heap memory area. Okay, so the reference variables that we are created here. So what type of a these reference variable will refer to the object allocated in the heap memory area. So what will happen that S1 and S2 both are the reference variable. Okay, so S1 and S2 that will be both are the reference variable and they are available in the stack memory area. This your S1 and S2 will be your, that is a stack memory area where it will be available here. So we can just decide on, as you can see here, like this is your program and this your S1 and S2 are the reference variable that will refer to the objects allocated in the memory. Okay, so what are the different objects that we are referring in the memory? Why so? Because that objects are using the heap memory area and the reference variables are available in the that is available in the stack memory. Fine. Now the last method that we need to discuss here is that how we can initialize through a constructor also. So we have a initialization through the constructor also. Constructor also. Okay, so here again we can use this concept that how we can initialize by using the concept of a constructor. So here what we will do, let's suppose I am taking one of the class, amp class I am taking, employee class. So here I am using int id and we are having that string name and we have a float, suppose salary is there. Okay, so this is the these are three variables we are taking. Now next is the method that we need to define. So we are just inserting that value, void insert, and here we are using int I and string. So these are the three parameters we are taking, string n and here float yes id equal to I. Okay, so name, we are just assigning the value of this parameter name equal to n and salary equal to s. Void display, and this is another method that we are using. So again you can see here we are having this void display and here simply I am using that system dot out dot print and here I can define the id plus name and we can just I'm just simply showing all these values here. So here last option is the salary one. Okay, so this is how we have displayed that particular data here. Fine, and now I will close my this particular class and again I am using class. Now let's suppose I give the name object by constructor. Let's suppose this is the name that I have given and here I will use that method public static void main string arguments that we are having and here I will create the objects for the same. Okay, so you can see here that we will create some different objects here. So like this I am, what is my class name, that is amp. So we are writing e1 equal to new emp. This was my class name above. Okay, again em P is there, I will create another object that is E2 like this, and here new M will be there. Okay, so this is how I've just created these two objects here. Now with the help of this object E1 dot insert, and what are the different values that we are using here? Okay, so I am just defining all those values, E1 dot insert, and here I will pass the value 10, comma, let's suppose the name is like any name I can give here like this, and the value for salary also, so like this I am giving the values. Okay, so again I just insert all this value, so and here I can okay, so I can give the values like this. So this is how I am using this particular part, E1 dot display. So this is the another method that I have called here. E2 dot display. Okay, so you can see here that how we have defined this particular, we have initialized through a particular constructor here. So we have created a class here that is employee, that is containing three variables here, and we have just use that particular this methods are there, that is insert method and the display method. Fine. So here what we are doing, we have just passed this we have created this just particular object here. So that is the type of a default constructor that we are having. So after that we have just simply inserted the values here like this. Okay, so this is the way that how we can have implemented this particular part. Now I just save this program, so that is Control S and object by constructor called OB by constructor, and now I am just simply going to run my program. Okay, I need to close this class also. Yeah. Okay, so again I just share my screen with you, and again I will run my program. So okay, so I'm going to share my screen with you. So you can see here that I'm going to run my program. Fine. So now okay, so this is the value you can see. Okay, why it is okay. So some okay, actually, okay, yes, there is some issue also. So I'm going to share my screen with you. Actually, I have by mistake I have written that E2. So that's why values are being copied here like this. Okay, so this is the case. Control S. Now again I will run my this particular part. So before that I just share my screen with you. Now you will see the output. Okay, so see the output you can see here. Okay, so why points has come because I have used that float above here, and in the like inserting part I have just given integer value, so that's why it has converted to that float value here. Okay, so this was all about that. We can say that we are having for that how we can create object, how objects are being created in Java. So basically there are three ways to initialize object. One is the reference variable, second one is by the method, and the third one is by the constructor part. So we have explained each and every method with the help of a code. So thank you very much.